Before we get the review started, I have a pretty important story that I think all Godzilla fans need to hear, because I think there are some pretty important takeaways from it. While I was on the hunt looking for the Jakks Pacific Godzilla figures, and it most specifically involves this one, I have something that is going to warm everyone's heart. So while I made my 7th or 8th stop, I was able to find these before they were merged on the shelves. So as I showed up, there was a whole pallet of figures and toys and whatnot that were getting ready to be put out for the night, and at the very bottom of the pallet, there was a whole case of 12 of these guys just waiting to be put out. So I had to find a Walmart employee, and we were able to dig through the huge pile of boxes to get to the bottom, so this way we could find the case of those figures. Now, once we did find that case, we opened it up, and all 12 of them had the cardboard and the protective styrofoam on them. So we took one of them, pulled it out, took everything off. It looked good. Put it down on the floor, and then I saw the 6-inch box for Rodan and King Ghidorah. Within 5 seconds of putting the first Godzilla we pulled out of that case on the floor, there was a girl, couldn't have been older than 5 years old, came running up right in front of me, pat Godzilla on the head, took a look at it, picked him up, and ran off into Walmart with him. Now, I don't know if she bought him, mommy and daddy bought him, I don't know. But what that tells me is two things, and hopefully it tells you the same. And it rings true, and it warms your heart. Because, first and foremost, Godzilla is safe with the upcoming generations. Whether or not folks are going to like that, Godzilla is going to last 70, 80, 100 years. Sure, he may change with the times, maybe more in-depth CGI, maybe VR. Godzilla is going to be around. And second, whether it's going to be that one, or maybe one next year, or maybe a couple years from now, that little girl is going to get her Godzilla, one way or another. That's pretty cool, don't you think? One last thing before we get started, I promise I originally was not going to review the Jakks Pacific Godzilla King of the Monsters figures. It just wasn't on my radar, and funding did not allow that to happen. Until my patrons stepped up to the plate, specifically Saber Prime, who really helped out these last 2 months, and these reviews are now a go. So thank you folks for really helping out these past 2 months and making these reviews happen. So if you've ever questioned Patreon and whether or not they can make content happen that you're really looking forward to, guess what? It can. And it goes without saying, links to Saber Prime in the description down below. Thanks again. Kaiju, Dragon Ball, Pokemon, and more. It's Steven's Toy Reviews. Hello collectors, it's Steven here, and happy Figure Friday to ya. Today is a very special Figure Friday because we are kicking off the King of the Monsters merchandise reviews over here on STR, and what better way to start it off than the 12-inch tall, nearly 3 foot long Godzilla 2019 from Jakks Pacific. Yeah, that's right. We're kicking it off with a big Godzilla. Now, this guy is going to be exclusive to Walmart, and he's going to be about $20. And some folks, right at the get-go of this release, are having some difficulty finding him. So, are you going to need to hunt around at a whole bunch of different Walmarts? So this way you can add a nice big chunky Godzilla to your collection, or maybe should this be one you just skip? Well, let's take a look to see whether or not it's worth adding into your collection. Now, channel regulars are going to know that I don't really talk about the packaging at all, so we're going to keep it short, sweet, and to the point. So this Godzilla has a nice open box display, so when you pick yours up, there are going to be a lot of folks who've probably touched it. But this is good because you can really inspect the paint apps on your Godzilla, and as you're going to see in just about, I don't know, maybe 2-3 minutes, yeah, you're really going to want to check. Also, there are some folks who have had some quality control issues with some of the pegs where you go ahead and insert the tail that they have been missing, so double check that. And we have a flip on the back of the box where they use the 2-inch tall Godzilla on the back. So good job, Jakks Pacific. You Oh, it's not even an A for effort on that one. Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and take a closer look at the figure, not the box here. Now, the tail is not connected here for the 360 spin, and it won't be for a good amount of the review, just simply because my review space is not big enough. But you can get the general picture here for what this figure is going to look like on all sides. And generally speaking, the overall sculpt here does look great. This looks like the American Godzilla. Yes, the American Godzilla that we all know and love for the past 5 or so years, because who knows what's going to come in the future. Anyway, the sculpt is really accurate to what we've been seeing so far in the promotional material, and even very similar to the 2014 design. That being said, sculpt is one thing, paint application is another. For the main body, it is pretty rock solid. We have a nice brown dry brushing found throughout most of the figure, which complements the dark gray, almost charcoal-like plastic used for the body. But when we take a look at the face, yeah, that is the main focal point of the figure, and Jakks really didn't necessarily do the whole best job that they could here. The eyes, they do look pretty solid, nothing too over the top, but the teeth, yeah, they do kind of look sloppy, kind of bubbly here and there. Some teeth missing paint. Yeah, I know it's $20, but come on, guys. Come on. We can at least make sure that he has painted teeth. And it's not an SH Monster Arts here. Yeah. I mean, if you're a kid, doesn't really gonna matter, but come on. Yep. So anyway, like I said, for the rest of the figure, it does look nice. And as we're taking a closer look at the sculpt here, we are going to notice a couple of seam lines here from production. Not that big of a deal. What is a little bit concerning, though, is that they opted to screw the figure together. No, I don't mean that in any figurative way. I mean that literally. There are screws holding this big shell of a figure together. Yeah, in today's day and age, they probably could have just sort of, pushed it really hard together. Not use screws. Make sure everything popped into place. Yeah, this is definitely an archaic technique, but I guess from one side, it's not really going to be that big of a deal. It's going to be a deal breaker for some. I mean, Bandai is not doing this with the Monster King series stuff, but it is what it is. It's going to bother some, not others. Personally, I'm indifferent. But as we continue to look on throughout the figure, we do notice that the dorsal plates are there. They are very large indeed detail. It's a little soft, but they are not rigid, so little ones will not get hurt by these, which is actually pretty nice. Yeah, can't use it as a war club. As we continue on down throughout the rest of the figure, specifically talking about the legs here, they are actually well sculpted, and as we get down to the feet, those toenails are actually a different color. Pretty cool there. Unlike the hands, they're all one color, including the claws. Then we do have the tail, which is actually kind of stumpy in comparison to the 2014 design, but still, the detail on the tail is awesome. So all in all, the sculpt is really, really good, but in terms of quality control, Jakks definitely could have tightened it up. Yes, I know it's only $20. I know that very well, but still, just a little bit more. Just a hair. So now we do have articulation, and it is pretty simple. We have some swivels at the shoulders and swivels at the hips. Now, the tail does connect in at 2 places, and those are going to be on pegs. At each peg, we are going to have a swivel. Now, something to take note of, that bottom last portion of the tail is going to be a pain to attach. Well, it may be for you anyway. If you're having issues, heat it up. I have a video on how to use a blow dryer if you need that help. So yes, articulation is pretty simplistic here. Nothing over the top like, let's say, the 12-inch tall NECA Godzilla released a few years back. Now we're going to go ahead and round out the review with a nice size comparison with some other kaiju figures you just might have, including some NECA figures, some SH Monster Arts, some 2014 merchandise, and of course, some other Jakks-specific King of the Monsters stuff. So as you can see, this one is definitely going to tower over your other monsters. Obviously, he's a king. So buy now, skip, or wait for a deal. For $20, this is not all that bad, despite the fact that, yeah, quality control is lacking just a little bit here. But if you do have something like the 12-inch tall 2014 NECA Godzilla, well, to be honest with you, that's going to be the better buy. But you know what? At the end of the day, this is still pretty nice. Now, if you're an adult collector, chances are this is not going to be anywhere in your wheelhouse. You're probably going to look at something more like the Monster King series figure going to be released by Bandai's Boy Division coming out relatively soon, or maybe hold out for something from NECA. But if you're looking to get this for a youngster, trust me, this is going to be the bee's knees. This is this generation's Imperial Godzilla, and I say that with all the love in the world. I still have mine. Well, collectors, that brings us to the end of the video today, and I just wanted to take a second to thank you so much for watching. Now, you've heard a lot from me. I'd like to hear a little bit from you. Drop in the comments down below whether or not you liked it, you hated it, or maybe you were somewhere in between. I also want to take an extra second here for a nice, humongous thank you to all the patrons for SDR over the last month who have really helped the channel grow into what it can be today. So to all of you, 2 big thumbs up. Thank you very much. And now the end card should be popping up, which will give you a few clickable links, like maybe to subscribe or head on over to my Patreon, or some short URLs like to my social media or to my Teespring store. There's also a video I hand-selected for you, so if you want to watch another STR video, I hand-selected some good content for you to watch, so definitely check out that video. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll catch ya in the next video.